Hey, GAT Math students. This is a video for notes on percents, ratios, and proportions 32 through 34. So if you want to get your packet out, if you don't have that, hit pause. Go grab your packet. This should be a little shorter than the first couple we've done this session. There's just a little bit of notes to do at the beginning, then I think 7 problems, which probably go quicker than what we've had before. So objectives 32 and 34 are very, very similar to a few objectives we had in the last session. You had math, but now the numbers are going to be just a little different to work with. There's going to be more decimals involved, some bigger than 100%, some way smaller type decimals and things like that. So to get the beginning notes, I'm actually going to, there's a spot I can fit them in. If I go to the last page of the section here, so before the key, I'm going to go right at the end here. So there's 3 things I want to go over here. First is going to be, I get to take it off eraser. We're going to look at, again, you would have these notes probably or very similar from the last session, but I'm guessing not a lot of people kept those or have those. So we're going to go over them again. It's a good review. So first thing, just going to talk about the items in a percent problem. Okay, so I'm going to just write a kind of a sentence here. 50% of 20 is 10. Okay, so the items in a percent problem. First of all, we have percent. So it'll either be given to us or we'll need to find that. That's usually easy to find because it's going to have a percent sign on it. The next is going to be what's called a whole. Okay, and almost always the whole almost always comes after, after the word of. So here it says 50% of 20, and then is 10. This would be the part. Usually you'll know the part, you'll figure that out almost last because percent's easy to find. Whole is pretty easy to find because it's after the word of. But this is often, let me see here, where do I want to write this? So I'm going to draw an arrow here. Often somehow connected with is or was. And you can't always go by that because like here is also next to the whole. So that I often will find this, look at this last. So percent sign's easy as a percent. The whole is after the word of, and then the remaining part would be, or the remaining item is the part. Okay, so that's items in a percent problem. Okay, there's going to be 2 methods, if you remember, on solving percent problems. The first is going to be percent equation and its forms. Okay, these are probably the most common methods used. I'll show you those. So, and I'll talk about this when we do the problems, but if your missing item is the part, The way you find the part is you take the percentage as a decimal and times it by the whole. And we'll do plenty of examples here in a second. Okay. Now, I don't necessarily have to go over how to get this, but using algebra, you can change that formula. So if you're missing the whole, or that's what you're trying to find, the way you do that is you would take the part and you're going to divide it by the percent as a decimal. And that'll give you the whole. And the third one is if you're looking for the percent, we don't find the percent right away. We find the percent as a decimal, and we convert it by taking the part divided by the whole. Okay, so those are the percent equation forms. Okay, and then the last one, or the last way we can use, or the other way we can use to solve these, is the percent formula. Okay, now it's still going to be in these problems. What's going to happen is you're going to be given 2 of the 3 items of a percent problem. You got to find the other. So this is, you set up a proportion where the part would go on top of this one, the whole goes on the bottom of this one. Up here, you write the percentage, and the key there is you keep it as a percentage, not a decimal. So over in these, we change the percentage to a decimal. Here, we keep it as a percentage, and then the bottom is always 100. Okay, so, and then you fill in what you know and use cross multiply and divide to solve. Okay. All right, so this will be something, and I'll kind of rewrite some of the stuff when we do the problems, but this would be a part in your notes you're going to want to turn to sometimes. So now what you're going to do is we're going to go back. We're not going to do all these problems. You're going to use some of these to practice, but we're going to start here, and we're going to do, I think, 7 problems. Okay. And I'm going to do them both ways. Okay. First thing to do is figure out what you're missing. So here it says 73 is 10.9% of what number? So we know that this is the percent. It's got a percent sign. So that's the first thing I always look for. Do we have a percent? We do. Then I look for the word of. If we have a number after the word of, we know what the whole is. Here, we don't. Okay. After the word of is what we don't know. So what we're looking for here, we are looking for the whole. That means 73 is the part, and 10.9 is the percent. Okay, so now we're going to do it the percent equation way. Okay, so what that is, and this would be just copied from the notes we just did, to find the, oh, whoops, well, we don't want to find the part. It just said we're looking for the whole. Okay, so from that last page that we did the notes, the whole is equal to the part divided by percent as a decimal. So I'm going to abbreviate DEC. Okay. So the first thing here, if we need the percent as a decimal, and this is the tricky part in some of these, We have to know that change our percent to a decimal. 10.9%. In review of this was last session we had math. You move it to the left twice. So 1, 2. So this would be 0.109. Okay, so now we fill in what we know here. We're looking for the whole, which is the part, which is 73. And over the percent as a decimal. So 0.109. And when we divide that, we're going to get 669. And I'm going to carry this out 3 digits because it said round to the nearest hundredth, which is 2 numbers past. So to round to 2 numbers past, you need to show 3 numbers past. Okay, so we're rounding to here. We look at the next number. If that's 0 to 4, this stays the same. 5 to 9, this bumps up. So we got 669.72. And that's our answer. Okay, the other method. Okay, and you get to decide which one of these you like more. Okay, you're not going to have to do both. So I'll write this once at the top, and then the rest of the time we won't write out the whole thing. But the percent formula is part over whole equals percent over 100. So the part is 73. We don't know the whole, so question mark or X or whatever you want to use. The percent, again, we leave it as a percent, not as a decimal. And then the 100 is always here. And now we use cross multiply and divide. Take the diagonal with 2 numbers. So 73 times 100 all over the other number, which equals 7,300 divided by 10.9. That also equals the 669.724. Okay. So there was both methods there. Next problem. This is what number is 2/5% of 73? Round the answers to the nearest hundredth if necessary. So we look, we have percent. The word of means that's the whole. After the word of is that number. So what we're looking for is the part. So we need to do, from our notes, part equals the percent as a decimal times the whole. Okay. So the next thing we have to do is we have to do this. This percent can be a little tricky. Could be confusion here. 2/5%. So first of all, I'm going to turn this, just the percent part, instead of using a fraction, that part into a decimal. So anytime you want to change a fraction to a decimal, you take the top divided by the bottom. So it's 0.4. But the key here is that's still a percent. Now we need to change this to a decimal. So we're going to go 1, 2. So we get 0.004. So that's the decimal we use. So now take 0.004 times the whole, which is 73. And we get 0.292. We round, that's 0.29. Okay. To do this the other method, the parts are at the top, so I'm just going to start right away with this. You can always start with that. Now fill in what you know. The whole is 73. The part is what we don't know. Now this is what it is as a percent. So right here we had 0.4%. So I'm going to use 0.4 right here. Okay, cross multiply. So it's 73 times 0.4, all divided by 100. And that becomes 29.2 divided by 100 equals 0.292 again, or round to 0.29. Okay. Next one, 33. It says, right away, it says what percent, and then of 88, which is the whole, because it's after the word of, meaning this is the part. We know we're looking for percent because it asks what percent. Okay, so if we're looking for percent, we can get the percent as a decimal by taking the part divided by the whole. So the part, make sure you copy this correctly, is 86.1. The whole is 88. Again, if this is going too fast, pause it, rewind it, listen to it again. Okay, we're going to get, now here, because we got to convert this to a percent, I'm going to go out 5 decimals, because we got to move it twice to get to a percent, and then have 3 decimals left to round. Okay, so we get that. Convert it to a percent means you have to go 1, 2. So 97.840. And if we round that, it's just 84. And that's the percent. Okay. If we do it this way, again, fill in what you know, 86.1 goes there, 88 is here. We don't know the percent. So we take cross multiply and divide, 86.1 times 100, all divided by 88. And we get 8,610. And then divided by 88. We're still going to get that 97.840, and that's the percent. They round to the hundredth, which is just the 0.84. Okay. We're going to skip over 34. That's very similar to 31. Okay, so we have 2 more on this page, and I think 2 more total after that. So 35 is going to be similar to what we just did because it says what percent, so we're looking for a percent. Now the key here, though, is find the word of. After that is the whole. It means the other number is the part. So again, if we want to find a percent as a decimal, we have to take the part divided by the whole. Now the difference here, and what people might get confused, the part goes on top, the whole goes on the bottom. And the difference here is the top is bigger. The part is bigger than the whole. Sometimes people get confused by that and think, well, how can that happen? Well, it's like getting extra credit on a test. You actually got more than is offered. So you divide that and you get 1.22 and then a bunch of 6s. Now, some people think, okay, 1.22, that's the 1.22%. Well, this is still the decimal version. So we have to go 1, 2. So it's 122 point something percent. We're going to round to here. Look at the next number. That bumps that up to a 7. And that's our answer. Now, if that way is confusing, again, you can use this other way. You don't have to do both ways. The whole is 90 because it's after the word of. The part is 110.4. We're looking for the percent. So we take the diagonal of 2 numbers. So we take 110.4 times 100. Divide, oops, that's not really 4. Divide by 90. So we get 11040 divided by 90. We're going to get this. Again, if you round that, it's 122.67%. Okay. One more on this page. And the reason this is like another problem we've done, but the reason I'm doing this is because there's a percent over 100. So let's look through. It says 5.8 is 145%. So we have the percent of, and then we don't know what's after the word of. So that means we're looking for the whole. Okay, so if we're looking for the whole, and that means we're going to take the part divided by the percent as a decimal. Okay, so percent as a decimal. We have 145%. We have to move that. The decimal version is always smaller by 2 spots and usually begins with the decimal like 0.5. But here we move it 1, 2. Because the decimal was, or the percent's over 100, our decimal is over 1. So 145% is the same as 1.45. So here we take the part, which is 5.8. The percent as a decimal is 1.45. We divide that, we get exactly 4, which is the whole. Now here your part is bigger than your whole, but that makes sense because the percent is over 100. So it's like getting extra credit. Again, if you want to do the percent formula, we know the percent is 145. The part is 5.8 because we're looking for the whole. So take the diagonal with 2 numbers. 5.8 times 100 divided by 145. 580 divided by 145 equals 4. Okay, 2 problems to go. We're going to go to 39. I picked 39 because we have a very small percent this time. So we read through, it says, what number is 0.62 of 31? So we have the percent, obviously. We have the word of. So after the word of is the whole. So we are looking for the part. So again, we've done ones like this, but I'm doing this because of this percent is different. So again, the part would equal percent as a decimal times the whole. And if we got to find the percent as a decimal, this is the tricky part. We have 0.62%. Now the decimal version of a number is actually 2 spots smaller than the percent. So don't change this to 62. People might do that because they see, oh, 0.62, that's like 62. But no, you have to make it smaller by 2 spots. So 1, 2. Any open spots, you put in a 0. So the decimal version is actually 0.0062. So take 0.0062 times the whole, which is 31. Okay, and that's going to give you a pretty small number. It's going to give you 0.1922. It says round to the 100th, so which is right here. So 0.19 is the answer. Okay, doing it the other way. Set this up. It's always the hundreds, always there. We know the whole is 31. We don't know the part. The percent, now this is where you would just leave it again as a 0.62. So we take, cross multiply, and divide by the third. So this is going to give you 19.22 divided by 100 equals a 0.1922. Okay, that's the only one on this page we're going to do. We're going to turn the page and do the last problem. 45. Again, I'm doing this one because it could be confusing for a couple reasons. It says, what number is 2 3/4% of 17? So this is like the last problem because we have a percent, word of, that means this is our whole. So the setup's the same as last one, but I'm doing it for a different reason. We are looking for the part. So just like last problem, part equals percent as a decimal times the whole. Okay, well, percent is a decimal, so it's this, again, this is a little tricky. We have 2 3/4%. I'm going to change that to a decimal percent first. So the 2 is the whole number. I take 3 divided by 4. So that's how you change a fraction to a decimal. And you get 2.75, and this is still a percent though. So now we have to move this twice, 2 spots smaller to get the decimal. So we go 1, 2. So open spot goes to 0. So it's 0.0275. If people get this one wrong, that's probably the reason why. Okay, so now we put that in here, 0.0275 times the whole, which is 17. And we're going to get 0.4675. Now, you don't see this number over here, and don't think you did something wrong because you see these exact numbers here, but the decimal somewhere else. You think, oh, I did something wrong. That's got to be the answer. It's rounding to the 100th, which is right here. So you have to look at the next number. If this is 0 to 4, this stays a 6. If it's 5 to 9, this bumps up. So the actual answer, when rounded to the nearest 100th, is 0.47. Okay. Again, last method, you'd have 2.75 as the percent. 17 is the whole. We don't know the part. So we take the diagonal two numbers, so 17 times 2.75. Remember, we don't change this too smaller. We leave it as a percent, which is 2 3/4 is 2.75. Okay, so here you get 46.75 divided by 100 again, which is 0.4675. But just like we did over here, we round. That's point. So we look at the number next. We get our final answer of 0.47. Okay, so again, a little fast, but we've done this kind of stuff before. If it's too fast, pause, rewind, watch it again. Remember, these notes are important. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just circle which problems we did. So if you have questions on other problems, you can see which ones were like that. So we did 32 and 39 and 45. So if you're trying 41, 44, 46, look at one of these three. You should find one similar to that. We did 33 and 35. So if you're going to do 37, 40, 43, or 48, look at those two. And then we did 31 and 36. So if you're going to do 34, 38, 42, or 47, look at one of those two. Okay. All right, so copy those down in your packet. Send me pictures of those notes. You get points for that. Practice some of these other ones. Check your answers. Ask me if you have questions. If you don't have questions, ask me for the test. All right. Again, let me know if you have questions.